He says that basically space and time are just references that the human mind is currently using in order to make sense of things, which is true. This is absolutely true. Our concept of time is incredibly flawed because we're so egotistical as a group. We never look outside of our planet. But once we're off our planet, even 50 miles, our time's completely wrong. You know why? Because we aren't on that rock that travels around at 365.2425 days a year, the sun. Even just going as far as Mercury, the years are then down to 224 days. Our entire concept of time is already flawed. We don't have to go far. So he's right there. He's right with that, guys. So we have to accept that as a fact. Our concept of time is just plain wrong. Einstein has a great quote. Einstein said, "The line between the past, the present, and the future is nothing but a stubbornly persistent illusion." He's saying the same thing. Time really isn't there. The past, well, it can't exist without the present. And what is the present? It's an intangible. You can't hang on to it because it's always moving. Time is not a line at all. It can't be. Time is a constant. And a lot of times people will draw the infinity symbol to show that. That's incorrect too because it's two-dimensional. What if time is three-dimensional? And the truth is time is essentially the fifth dimension. Okay, but we're still working on the fourth here, so let's not get that far ahead of ourselves. But stop looking at time in terms of past, present, and future. And at this point, Lanza went on to say basically that when we're looking at a star, let's say we see a supernova that exploded 8 million years ago, right? And has been traveling here at the speed of light. Now, Lanza's theory here is that we can, in fact, influence the past by looking at that supernova because nothing saw it yet. Well, Lanza obviously doesn't get aliens like we do now, does he, Space Chickens? Maybe we're not the only beings in the universe, Lanza. But that's the problem with science. Well, we can't prove it. Well, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You got to have the special badges to get through a few doors within the government. But, oh yeah, it's there. It's quite logical, really, too. Big place, the universe, you know. We got to get over thinking that we freaking know everything. Anyway. So he seemed to think that you can actually influence the past by looking at something that far away. Which sort of fits with his theory, but this was where Lanza falls short, is he forgets to take in that we don't have one collective set of eyes. Kind of. We kind of do. And I'm going to go into that. But let me continue with his theory. And one of the things that he used for proof in saying that we form our own reality is dreams. But yeah, think about when you're in a dream. Here when we're awake, we can't fly, right? We're still going to hit the ground, and there's a reason for that too, and a reason that could potentially change. But in that moment, that is real, isn't it? Those dreams are real. You don't know you're asleep. Your reality is entirely different. And none of the rules of the three-dimensional world apply there. None of them. Your mind makes its own reality in your dreams, right? It's exactly what it does when you're awake. It's very primitive the way that we use our brains as humans in having to fit everything in a very specific reality. When, like I just said, the truth is that reality is not correct for any of us, myself included. But we still have the need to fall back on that because we have the need for tangible things. Some of us. But even the religious folks, they need the tangible things, or at least the tangible group mentality they still need. And this is something that we as a species need to dismantle because it's just not, we have blinders on. We can't see anything other than what we're looking straight at. And it's, you know, there's not only things around us in the third dimension, but fourth, fifth, and God knows how many they go. So work on that. It's hard to break. I'm working on it too, and it's very hard to do. We all just fall back on this need to have a reality. But the truth is, it's flawed, right? We don't want to live in fairy tale land, and it's very similar to the movie The Matrix. It truly is, and that's just the way things are. And we're in the process of breaking through that, and boy, I'm happy to be around for that. That's cool. But he went on to say that, hey, once science breaks through this, it's going to change everything, and he's right. He's absolutely right. What I don't think he fully comprehends, or is at least not taken into account, is that there are many civilizations and species out there that have already done this. There's a lot of historical record of this. And they're observing things too now, aren't they? With their own reality. That's probably entirely different than ours. I have to imagine they've gotten past space and time. Because we're pretty much new kids on the block as humans. We have not been around that long. But let me wait and go into all that in a second. I want to finish with this theory first here. He goes on to talk about artificial intelligence. If you guys have seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, it's this is why I very much dislike what's going on with people who have quote-unquote schizophrenia. In that movie, the man who Russell Crowe was playing, and I apologize, I forgot his name, but he was trying to find algorithms to consciousness, essentially. And they are there. It's just nobody is looking in the most obvious place. So what Lanza says, basically, is we just need to find the freaking algorithm to consciousness. And then we can put it in a machine. We have artificial intelligence. That's it. And he's right. We're close to being able to do that. But he's missing one very simple thing. His ego's getting in the way. Just like it does for all of us. But Lanza sees it, basically. He sees that reality is, the color red, right? Why couldn't it be green? We just put that label on it, right? Our mind, that is entirely within ourselves and our mind. And this is sort of what he's getting at when he's saying nothing is real until something observes it. And he says this is where he's off. What he says is there's a lot of studies saying that if something is observed, it becomes basically real particles at that point. And before that, it is not. The problem with this is logically, that is impossible to prove, right? Because how can you tell without watching? As soon as you're watching to see what happens, it's going to be real, according to his theory. So there's no way to tell what would happen if you don't watch it, right? So, and he's sure that there are a lot of things that physics tests that have proved this, and maybe physics folks are believing this, but that's, I mean, I believe they're right, firmly, but they need to understand that they can't prove that. In science, that's the thing with science, they've got to prove it, we got to prove it, we got to prove it. Why? You can't prove something. Some things are intangible, and this would be one of them logically. You can't prove it because as soon as you look at it, the whole experiment's screwed up. But they're certain they've done this successfully, which can't happen. But even Stephen Hawking is now changing everything that he said about the universe. And this is the problem that science is in, why they need a clean slate. Even he's saying, like, yeah, I got to go back on everything I knew. And that's the truth. We all do, as humanity and as scientists. And this applies to religion as well, because it's also highly flawed. I know you guys all talk about peace and love and stuff, but if you look at your track record, you are the most violent people out there. So, and I say all this stuff not to piss people off, but just to try to humble everybody. You know, why are we so caught up in the me, I know what's right, I know what's right, God is this, God is that. No, none of us freaking know. No one knows. No one knows what God is. Yes, I do. Maybe that was the angels that you experience. I sure experience them. But, you know, lots of societies throughout this history refer to them as, oh, it's the gods. I watched that Ancient Aliens show on the History Channel. Has this great thing with, in World War II, when the Americans were coming through, they landed on an island. It was kind of a way to get to Japan. And the natives there, they thought it was great because they brought along like cans of corned beef and food and stuff like that and gave them to the natives so they'd be happy. But then when the war was over, they all left. And the natives actually went and built these airplanes with sticks and palm things. And they looked very much like the planes, but they were doing them to say, come back. They were trying to show signs to the heavens because that's where they saw them come from. This is how religion is formed, guys. Nobody knows what God is. And I've got a good theory, but it's impossible to prove. We should try to understand it.